shifts. They don't want to work weekend hours, and it is disruptive to your family. I know that firsthand. I worked a shift like that for 23 years of my life. Disruptive, and it is a big hardship. I do not know what the answer is. Marky and I will continue to put our heads together and try to come up with good solutions, along with, I know that Craig and I have had some conversations, what do we do to retain our staff? Fortunately, we are attracting replacements, but you can't, we had 23 years of experience leave us in the last 2 months, our last two. That's a lot of years of experience to go out the door. And that it will take us years to have our new staff to where we will be replacing those last two employees. So I hate to see it, but I do understand their situation because their families want them at home in the evening, and we don't close. Well, there's really, we're almost at a stalemate with that type of stuff. So I think I'll pause for a minute. If anybody has any specific discussion or questions about that portion of my time, I would gladly take any questions or
answer quick questions, Stuart. You don't have training, maybe I should know this. Is it all in-house?
It is all in-house. Almost all of it is, there is some very formal structured online coursework that's required to become a certified telecommunicator. Then there's some other stuff, CPR, we require everybody to be CPR trained, which we work with the county, Saints arranges that for us. They are paired up one-on-one with a training officer for 3 to 6 months. We have had people after 3 months where they're not paired up anymore, but I would say more common is 4 to 5 months they're paired up with the trainer. All three of we have 3 brand new hires, one from June, one from July, and one from August. They are all still paired up with trainers. And we're not gonna put a timeline on that. I would love for them to be done sooner than later, but they don't need pressure of any end date. As long as they continue to show improvement, we will continue to work with them. If we kicked everybody out the door that didn't have it at the end of 3 months, I wouldn't have a job. Because it took me longer than 3 months. Even with the level of experience that I came in with. It's a hard job. It's a very hard job to learn. It's very time consuming. I think we do well. I think our trainers would have to do a really good job. It's just a hard job to learn.
You mentioned that there's fewer trainers than people.
Yes.
Would the Jasper 911 help be able to kind of get some assistance on that, or
Well, she's got her hands full.
Or they not have?
They are experiencing the same thing that we're experiencing. They had I call it a false start. So they had a hire and they started training and they weren't very far into it, and that person decided it wasn't for them anymore. So that's worst case scenario, because now you spend all your training time with them as well, and then you still don't have them as an employee. So fortunately, we have not had that at our center since 2019. In 2019, we had some of that. Their level of training is not quite as high as ours, mainly because of the call volume. Our call volume is so much higher than theirs. Our expectations are a lot higher for the amount of things that have to happen in an amount of time. Our medical, our medical dispatching, our EMS dispatching is the majority of our work, and none of that happens at the city of Jasper. All the medical calls are turned over to us. So that's probably the biggest reason and one of the biggest differences. It's not that they don't do a good job. They have some excellent dispatchers, and their communications chief, a great person. I love working with her, but I don't think that they're in a position.
They wouldn't be able to.
I don't see how they can barely get their own staff trained. It'd be nice if we could share. Yeah, I agree.
Some sort of assistance.
Maybe one of these days, if we could all get full staffed. But that hasn't happened since June of last year. We have not been fully staffed and fully trained.
Any other questions for Mr. Stewart on this additional appropriation? Otherwise, I think I'll entertain it. Motion to approve the $20,000 additional overtime holiday pay.
We have not advertised it yet, so.
So this is just a show of hands? Oh.
No, we have, sorry, we did advertise for it. Sorry.
Okay, good.
It's the next thing you.
Yes, the next thing is
Sorry.
shorter notice.
I think you have a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Doug seconded. Any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. So you want to continue on with the other?
Yeah, the second, which came up on shorter notice, we had, once again, there's an email that explains it pretty thoroughly. I think there's a case where an organization called IPSC, the Integrated Public Safety Commission, has provided services to our center, law enforcement countywide, since we came on board. And I was trying to think who was around in 2012 when all this went live, and I was at the sheriff's office, but I think it's, originally that was all funded, I think with some prosecutors pre-trial referral funds, or some clerk's office monies. Anyway, all this equipment is bought, and there's an expense to hosting it. So the state has provided this service for 10 years. Well, hosting data remotely and the connections, the internet connections that go along with that, which is a T1 line, has become increasingly expensive, and we sat in with a meeting, and that hosting service is no longer going to be provided by IPSC. They are not doing it at all. They have shifted that to Caliber Public Safety, which is one of our vendors that we use for all our equipment. I got the quote from Caliber. It was attached to the email that I sent.
86,
80, yeah. And as annual, it will be the equivalent of a maintenance that we're paying, but we're paying for a service. I've spoke to a few other people. Everybody that's a Caliber Public Safety customer, which there are many of, I'm not sure. There are 20-something counties in Indiana that are full on Caliber Public Safety suites the way DuBois County is. Perry County is the closest one to us. The state police is there. There is a big benefit. We don't have a lot of wiggle room on hosting CAD data, the computer-aided dispatch data. We could purchase and manage our own server for that data hosting and provide our own data connection, and it is not cost effective. It would cost us more to do it on our own. There are no alternatives. There could be other vendors that we could reach out to, but if we were to make any changes, the entire county has to come along. So to see the benefit, the sheriff would have to come along, Jasper City Police would have to come along, including the dispatch center, Ferdinand Police Department, Heinsberg Police Department. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think we're all pretty comfortable with where we're at. So I think that this is just a cost to doing business in today's day and age with the cost of data hosting and high-speed internet connectivity. It's very expensive.
So what do they do, like down in Spencer, Orange?
They don't perform at the same level that we do.
Okay.
They have possibly local storage. They would have a server. We have a server as well, so when we lose our connectivity to the state, we have a server in-house where we don't lose our operations. We can do things on paper even. So if we have a complete outage and a complete failure, we'll grab sheets of paper, we handwrite notes. I mean, we can still do it that way. It's not reasonable long-term with the call volume that we have. We triple Spencer County's call volume. So when you're thinking about 3 times the work, well, they have a staff of 10. I don't have 30. So when you start putting the numbers together with the call volume that we have to do it as efficiently as we can.
Right.
And the only way for us to do something better would be to make the process longer or more difficult, which would require me to add staff. So sometimes I really do believe that sometimes you just got to pay the money as a cost of doing business as the work for the work of the day. And I think that this is one of those cases that there are no good alternatives. It's a lot of money. I'm shocked at the amount of the quote. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting almost $9,000. Any Caliber CAD customer in the state of Indiana has received a similar quote. The only variance would be how many workstations they have. We pay for 3. And other counties that may pay for 2, their quote could be smaller, but it's all, there's a per workstation amount that they've assigned, and it's across the board. I don't know, they've been a good business partner, I think, for the services they've provided over the years. We've been a Caliber Public Safety customer for many years. We were a Caliber Public Safety prior to 2012. Going back farther than that, I don't know. But it's a long-term partnership. It's been a good relationship. They provide us a good service. I don't want to spend $9,000 on a poor vendor, but they're a pretty good vendor for us.
So any other discussion here? This, so would we just
So-
make a motion to
Well-
change their budget or how?
Well, what we would do is we would add it to his line item.
$9,000.
We have not advertised yet, so I can add it to the budget.
So just have a show of hands tonight, who would approve that? Any other discussion prior to that? Okay, have a show of hands, who would approve the $9,000 ad? So it's unanimous. I think that's all for tonight. I think we're on the same, at least I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I wanted to get that. I talked to Sandy, and her opinion was that we're better off doing it now before the submission. And otherwise, I was gonna have to come back next year and ask for it when I got the bill. One way or the other, I was gonna be coming and asking for
And
it.
really, if you're gonna have the service, you have to have a way to pay
Yeah,
it.
and it's not going away. This will be a perpetuating expense that we're gonna have.
So that technically starts on July 1st.
Correct. Yeah, we won't get the bill till July 1st, but we'll pay it out of the budget funds that's in the 23 budget that's already submitted.
Okay, well, Stuart, thanks a lot.
Cindy, I don't remember, was that in the statewide or is that the general?
It looks like it's general
That is the
fund,
general fund.
00141, it'll be on page 13, I think.
Thank you all. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you. Here's the maintenance and service agreement. So,
We'll make sure in my mind like where that's going.
okay,
We'll talk about it a little bit, I have to.
so the city of Jasper taking the Chad? Yeah. I didn't even see him walk in.
Snuck in. Good evening, Chad Herb. I'm the engineer for the city of Jasper. What we are requesting this evening involves we refer to them as the vaults on the south side of the annex building here. We had anticipated there being a vent in the sidewalk. However, after the contract was bid and process had started, it was brought to our attention that more than just vents located in the sidewalk. There were in fact 2 rooms located under the sidewalk, the full extent to the curb. Basically, in that situation, what we would have done was to reinstate the vents. We would have had the county close off the interior of the building. We'd have filled the vaults with sand or some type of structural fill, and we'd have poured concrete right over the top. Wasn't an option in talking to Brett Windholt and Scott Oaf. Those vaults are being used by the EMA office. There's communications equipment in there, as well as the gas line that feeds the building. As a result, we couldn't just fill it in and go over it. So we instructed REA, Rundell, Ernstberger and Associates, to provide us with a plan on how to bridge those 2 vaults. That was done, came back to us. We took that to the contractor and got a cost for what it would take them to accomplish the plan that our REA had given them. That was a change order in the amount of $38,568.00. That was brought to the Board of Public Works and Safety in Jasper. We did approve that. What we are asking is that since that was an additional cost over what a normal sidewalk would have been, that the county participated in paying for that change order. What this does not include, and we don't have the information yet, is the design fee that was associated with that. So we do not have that at this time, but the construction cost is what we do have. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that the council has.
So, I think clear, are you asking for that exact amount? With the,
That is the amount of the change order
so
for
what
the
was that,
additional work, yes.
38,000?
560.
Check plus whatever the engineering
Yeah, like I
is.
said, we do not have the engineering fees yet. We would be asking that the county pay for those. We'd have to come back at a later date with that.
Any questions or discussions with Chad or?
I think at the time you talked with the commissioners, it was 38,000, because you didn't know, right?
Yeah, I didn't have a change order in front of me. Yeah, 38 and change, I think is what we had said, so. Yeah, 38,568 is the change order.
It's our building. It's not what we want to spend, to be honest, but we have to take ownership of our building.
Anybody, other comments or anyone want to make it?
Do you guys have any idea what the engineering fee might range?
I would say that it will be, well, I know REA's is just not much because the actual engineering is being done by VS Engineering. REA's is just shy of $1,000, it's like $965, but so you can add that amount for sure. I would say that VS, they're anticipating somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000. And I've requested that, the actual bill, now I think 3 times since the commissioners meeting.
Because if they would approve this, I'd have to know how much to advertise for next meeting to approve it.
I can absolutely get you it as soon as they get it to me, and I was just on the phone right before we came here, so I expect
Yeah.
that.
I know I have to go to press. For the next meeting, we'd have to be able to go to the paper. I think it's the very first week of October. The first Thursday, we'd have to have it to the paper. You know how the
If
paper.
I don't have it tomorrow,
Yeah.
I,
You know, I guess my comment would be, you know, during seems like during the design phase, I don't think you indicated, that you had noticed the event there with the commissioners, and maybe I missed it when you said that.
We knew there was a vent there,
Did you?
but we didn't
You know, it's,
know the extent of what was under the site.
it seems like, you know, due diligence would have said that you would have investigated that more, you know, since there is, you know, there is a basement to the facility here. You know, I think, you know, and I think unforeseen conditions happen during any kind of construction. I just, you know, it just seems like normally, like, you know, doing the jail, you know, there's always unforeseen conditions, but, you know, as us, as the owner of the jail or the commissioners, you know, we carried a contingency, you know, for that type of thing. So I don't know, in some ways, personally, I got a hard time, you know, putting all that illness on us, you know, because if we would have, if you had figured, you know, the sand and, you know, all that, it seems like there should be some kind of an offsetting thing possibly.
Well, we didn't figure that either. We figured on 18 by 6 foot vent.
And having the sidewall bridge, the opening, is what you're saying.
I'm sorry.
You're saying.
We
the
just
sidewalk
anticipated that there was
bridge.
an opening there that we had to keep for air return.
Okay.
Can
We
I
weren't- we
interject
weren't-
something?
Yeah,
Sure.
And I'm sorry, but I have to say that we did, over the course of the project, go around, we walked around the square, we talked to property owners, and we included somebody from the county in those meetings, those planning meetings, every step of the way. So it's not as if we planned this project on our own and didn't have somebody from the county there. No one from the county volunteered the information that that was there and needed to be accounted for at all. And I don't want this to get into a finger pointing thing. We're working really well with the county and partnering on things, and we really enjoy that relationship. But at the end of the day, it is work being done on a county facility that's necessitating that cost. I don't view it the same as an unforeseen circumstance like finding poor soil or something in the roadway. I mean, it really is truly a county facility. It's part of your building, and I just, you know.
well, and my understanding is a year and a half from now, you won't need it. So,
If there was
it's just a matter of timing and
If there was a way, and maybe there would have been a way to engineer it around it, to change, to move the gas, to move the communications. But that was something that the county would have needed to do while they knew the project was being planned, and that just wasn't done.
And we can finger point, I think, if you're talking about Becky and I sitting in those meetings, that was not,
Well, Brett was
I
there,
don't know,
yeah, I mean,
because
you know,
I mean, neither one of us were aware of it, that's for sure. So I mean, but that's here.
You're right.
well, I don't think even your employees were aware of the full extent of what was under there.
I mean, I wasn't, but there could have been, And I have the same feel. These are just my thoughts. Now, I'm not saying, but I agree with you. I think we have to partner. We partnered on this thing. We want to do what we can. We felt at the time we gave the money that we could afford. I think, I think in the bidding process, I think the EDA ramp over there kind of probably got a little more costly, I think, than what we anticipated, when we put this all together. I think they read the engineer's estimate, I'll say. So, I mean, you probably didn't get the dollar's worth from the county that, that maybe, we would have known that ramp cost that much, which it shocked me, how much that thing turned out to be, So I'm just trying to put it out here for discussion. I'm not trying to
no, I get it, I just,
nitpick, but these are, being in the background in construction, these
Yeah.
things happen.
you're right.
So whose fault it is, we get, like you say, we point fingers all day.
Yeah, and I don't even look at it that way. It's not a fault. It's not somebody's fault that this happened. There's something there and it just needs to be addressed. It's just a matter of how we address it.
I wonder what, and I listened to the same thing that and I wasn't aware of the 38,000 I thought was gonna cover this, tonight, I'm a little bit surprised that plus it's engineering and plus it's this and that,
Well, I
I wonder
know.
if there's any way we could share, that we would pay for the construction part of it and you guys would, because in that respect, I guess, that they would have had to design that if we would have said, that's, there's, it's there, we need some kind of, to share it somewhat, possibly, that we paid. I mean, these are just something I'm throwing out again. I don't know, pay for the whole thing, but, we need to budget it and
I know, I just to get all the facts out, we did mention the engineering costs at the county commissioners meeting,
did you?
but we didn't know what they were. I mean, we had no idea. Since then, we had our construction progress meeting actually the next day, I think it was the next day, and I asked.
Okay.
So I just wanna get an idea, and that's when they told us, so, everybody hears a number, and that's what sticks in their mind, so we did though mention it at the.
I did, and I'm not missed it, but it wasn't, I
Yeah.
didn't see it in the minutes, I guess, maybe.
Is there the possibility that there's this problem like in every quadrant between each of the buildings?
Well, we've talked to other property owners, and we think we know where the rest of them are.
So you guys wouldn't have to eat the rest of them, like in your
They're,
contingencies?
they're just being filled
They're just
in.
being filled in.
Okay, so ours was the only one that had something that was being used in the,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So are you paying for the filling in there, or are they building owners?
It's being basically similar to a bridge deck. So there's decking that goes down, there's structural steel underneath that to support it. There's some shoring underneath that.
In your case,
Yeah.
not for the other
Or,
ones.
no, for the other ones, though, when you
Oh.
find out where they are the building owners paying to fill those in, or are you paying?
That's part of the project.
So though, if they had to build a wall,
They had to construct the wall.
Okay.
And then we were filling in the hole, so to speak.
Any other discussion on this, or? Anybody wanna make a motion, how we should handle this?
I make the motion that we appropriate $38,568 for the change order for the bulk of the 2 rooms under the annex.
Without the engineering though.
Is that gonna come separate then?
Okay, so we're just approving the change order for the contractor then. So we got a
So-
motion on the floor.
Do you want me to do an additional appropriation then for next month for, in that amount? Because you don't have any money for that,
Are
right?
it separate, or should I go ahead and include the 10,000 for design fees?
Well, right now you don't have any money, so you have to get the money in place.
I mean, this is not something that the city, you know, that you have to have your money tomorrow to pay the contractor. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We got time,
No.
we can either come back and do it when we have the exact amounts. You know, probably would be better, wouldn't it?
Yes, I would like to know what the, well,
Or
we're talking dollars.
Because otherwise we're rounding it off and, so then.
so can we just submit to you that the exact, I think Chad's already sent the change order for the construction fees to Brent.
Brent's got all this for the construction.
Right. Can we go ahead and send you the other itemized for the design fees in lieu of us appearing again to bring those to you?
Yeah, we can make it, yeah,
And then you can do it all at once?
for sure. Yeah, so you'll put the two of the architect and engineer together there. You're
Right.
saying as an invoice.
I'll just send you a copy of those
Copy
two
of what I'm saying.
invoices.
And we can do that later on. Or do we have to do this all at one time?
Well,
It's just-
really, I mean, you made a motion, but I don't really know what you're I mean, are you just
So it's-
accepting, taking, that we'll pay for this?
That's what the motion is, yes. That we'll pay for the construction cost of $38,568.
And that would have to be contingent upon you passing the additional appropriation next month.
There you go. So this again, would this be a show of hands then?
Well, you got a motion on the floor, so
So I guess that we need a second.
A second.
Alex seconded. Any other discussion before? So this is only the construction tonight. Any other discussion? Was all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we got that settled. So we'll look for that and then we'll make that in a future date.
Okay.
You know, so, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I wanted to state because of Stuart, I should have gotten that from Stuart here, that, you know, we're going through the same issue all the time. And it's a tough situation, you have turnover in those key roles, but it's a public safety issue. I don't know how else to get around it, you know, there's no real good way until we develop a talent pool we can pull from. They've got some good ideas, but we've gotta work on that together. So I appreciate your action, as well as ours. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the added expenses you're gonna address at the next meeting, or do you want, if I get that number, do you want me to go ahead and advertise it with this, or?
We don't know what to advertise.
Well, if they get a number to me,
Oh,
and then what fund do you want me to advertise this from, Edit?
I think that's where our financial parts came from, yeah.
I would like to see the way that Sandy's suggesting. They're gonna send the architecture and engineering, just put it all together in one advertisement. One somber.
And then we'll make another, are you gonna add it as soon as you get it?
If they get it to me by the 6th, when I have to advertise, I'll put it on as one thing, or do you want me to separate construction and engineering, design and engineering? I can do it.
I think
To
so.
go along with my motion.
Because your motion was just for the construction, so
Yes.
I'll do the engineering and design, and we'll do both.
Yeah,
It'll be the same line item, it'll just be two different.
let's do it that way. And then we would then vote on it at that meeting, and to
Yes.
approve it. So did we really need a motion tonight, or just for hand to approve it? I'm just curious.
It's all
Yeah, I
good.
don't- It seems like, but that's what I think we got to understand. I wanted to get the points out there, you know, my thoughts on it, so that we had just
You got it.
as far as one way or the other.
Well, Brent thought between 35 and 40.
35.
He didn't say anything about engineering in his email, so.
Well, that's why this is the first, it's first I heard about it tonight, so I didn't know it coming to it. So that's fine. So are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, Sheriff?
All right, well, what do you say? Good evening. I'm just here, also, I talked to Sandy last month, and it's here for special appropriations to pretty much get us through the end of the year. So forecasting out, I would like an additional 10,000 for our utilities, 20,000 into the gas and oil line item, and 5,000 for inmate meals. I believe wholeheartedly that's gonna get us through the end of the year, although obviously things can change drastically on anything like that. So I do believe that those additional appropriations would get us through to the end of the year.
Gas and oil was in the sheriff department, utilities and meals are in the jail.
In the jail, yeah,
Just those three.
just
Yes,
those three right now.
it's a total of
Is that
35,000.
something you do for our budget for next year then too?
I mean, did the utilities go up that much? because
Well,
of the
we took
construction?
over the new jail,
Okay, because of
that's last month, so and then we have been paying, some of corrections utilities also, since they did some maneuvering around, during the construction, so utilities is gonna be a good question, I don't have any idea where that's gonna go when we take over everything. But that's what it looks like. Now, gas and oil, that's just the price increase, and the meals or the food is just price increases. But the utilities is the big question mark, is like, why all of a sudden, and, I projected that out 2 months ago when I did the budget, and I didn't increase the budget line item because it looked like it was gonna get us through, and then all of a sudden we did this. It's the only thing I can think of we're doing different, because we took over the jail, and then when, some of the electrical stuff got moved from the corrections into the new power source out back, we took over that because it's under ours, but it's just, I don't know why it went up that much.
How did you find that out?
Because the bills went up.
Utility bill.
Yeah, the utility bills, when everything went up, and then, when I looked at it, when I did the budget, everything looked good, and then Joanne redid it and trying to get us through the end of the year, and that's when she said we're gonna be short.
I just wonder if that's some, off the record here, that's something that we ought to talk to the Sharman or Crap about. To see some, aren't they?
On the utilities,
Yes, aren't they paying the utilities?
No,
I mean, I thought they were until this got turned over to us, which we hadn't really technically got it turned over to the end of the month here.
my understanding is they had it up until they turned on the air handlers. Once the air handlers went over, that's when we took it over.
Okay. So you may not have enough
Right.
for 3 months. I don't know.
I think, well, I hope, I can't imagine it going up more from last month. Because we're not using anymore, and it's should go down, honestly, because of now you're air conditioning the building and there's doors open and stuff like that. So once everything gets closed up and tighter, well, air conditioning should be going off here shortly anyhow.
So with your comment, right, it may not go up that much more.
Yeah. But I hope, I feel good that it's gonna get us to the end of the year.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion on that, or?
Sandy, if you have them each,
One sheet, 35,000.
one sheet for all.
Okay, so I mean, if there's no other discussion, I'll accept the motion to approve these 3 line items for 35,000.
Some,
Charmaine made a motion, do I have a second?
I'll say.
Sonia, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in tonight.
Okay, I need to call. Ryan.
So on the bidding process, do they have miscellaneous? Is that what happened?
It's just like a jail, you put it in a second, whatever, it is, 5
Yeah.
seconds. So I mean, they should have cared, they have a contingency.
They, well, so I mean, more think about that, sure, why we have.
Hey, Ryan, it's Sandy.
Well, that's,
I mean,
Go on speakerphone.
because if they would have had it, they would have paid for it.
Are you there?
Well, we have the web shut, those up.
Yeah.
Okay, I have Ryan on the line.
Ryan? Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So basically, I talked to the commissioners last week about having a emergency declaration to go ahead and pursue the remount option for the truck that needs, the second truck that needs replaced. So kind of a little bit of background, we've had some issues here in the last probably 3 weeks. We had one truck that had to have the engine replaced, which was under warranty. That was one of our 2019 trucks. We had one truck that had some brake issues, and we had another truck that had a antifreeze leak, and that took some time to fix. And then this truck that we're working on replacing has a computer issue. And so Uglaris looked at it and said the computer needs to be replaced in it. The problem we're having with all these issues are it's taking what used to take a day or two to get these fixed and get the parts. Now it's taking a week to 2 weeks to get parts. And then they'll tear into it, start working on it, and realize they need another part, but then they have to wait another week for that part. So the truck we're trying to replace with this, they got a refurbished computer in, and Tony Ebler had to help me get that through GM somewhere. They had been looking for, that one's been down probably at least a month. So we had been looking for a computer port, couldn't find one. He finally found a refurbished one, they put it in last week, got it back to us on a Thursday. We used it all Thursday evening, Friday morning, they had to run the Huntingburg and got it and did the exact same thing, they just quit. So luckily one of the deputies was there and he ran back to the Huntingburg station, got one of the other trucks, got it over to him, so we didn't really collect here any. But so that truck's back at Uglaris, and they're gonna see if they can figure out what's going on with it. But kind of the issue, the reason I asked was at one point, 2 weeks ago, we were down to 3 ambulances. Typically, we had a total of 7.
Typically, you're running 4 crews 24/7. That one day, we only had 3 crews because we only had 3 trucks available. So, while it won't save us anything right now, the more we delay, the longer it's gonna take. So the new truck that we have ordered is, on the docket for about 14 to 16 months. And so that would put it, close to the end of next year. The guy told me with this remount, if we order, soon, he can have a chassis by July of next year, and then it'll take 3 months to switch over our old box onto the new chassis, so we can have it, tentatively, around the 1st of November.
Okay. So, did you say the cost, what is that transition cost? You know, using the new chassis in that old box? Did you tell us that, or did I miss it?
Yeah, the cost is about $65,000 cheaper than, what a new truck would be. The last quote for the new truck, or the last bid we awarded, was for $318,000. I think this one came in a little over $250,000. So it would be about around $65,000 difference. And so we have the money budgeted, for the 2023 budget. But in order to go ahead and pursue and get the ball rolling to get this started, we would have to have the money appropriated this year yet. But we wouldn't be spending any money until the project is completed. So that could be hopefully in November, if everything goes well. But if anything got delayed, then it could be even into the 2024 budget.
So, I mean, are we saying to go ahead and appropriate now and then remove that from the 23 budget?
No, I think what we need to do is the way way Greg has some statutes, the way you can is you can go ahead and declare an emergency, order it, and we're gonna pay for it in 23, because that's when we're gonna get it.
Okay.
It's just to stop that lag time. We don't wanna wait another 6 months or whatever. We wanna start it now.
So we don't need to change anything with the
I don't
way the
think
money is
so.
appropriated?
That's the way I understood the emergency statute.
So you just need for approval,
Just-
or,
To go ahead and approve him.
so,
Kind of like we did the ambulance cots. We went ahead and said order them now, but we're gonna get them in 23.
okay, anybody have a problem with that? Discussions? Okay.
So how old is the
Normally,
box?
we're just in a situation that everybody in the world is in right now is, you know, you can't just order something in 6 months it's here, or 3 months it's here. You're having to order it and wait for 12 to 16 to 18 months, and it's hard to plan that far in advance and know what you think is gonna happen. You know, it's just hard to plan that far ahead.
So Ryan, how old is the box?
It's a 2012 model, and so the box are usually warranted for about 10 years. But this is something that a lot of services are going to now because it is cheaper and they can get them quicker. I know the guy that we were talking to just got a bid from Posey County. And, you know, they go through the box and basically anything, he went through it with us, and anything that is worn or needs replaced, they're going to replace. Anything that they can use, they'll tear everything out. And, you know, anything they can reuse, then they'll reuse those parts. So all the wiring, all that type of stuff will be replaced.
Do the dents and dings get fixed on the box itself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it looks like
Any rust or corrosion or anything like that on the hinges for the doors and stuff like that, they'll fix. And then they'll, you know, basically you're saving the $65,000 in the cost of the metal and not having to conform and get over the box.
Okay.
Ryan, are we running on more than 4 ambulances now? I mean, the ones with like the antifreeze leak and, you know, the more minor problems, are those back up and going now?
Yes, currently we have 6. So the only one that we have down right now is the one with this computer issue.
Okay.
And I don't really know, honestly, I don't know what we're gonna do with it, because that was their fix, was for a new computer. And that was the only refurbished one we could find. And so it's still doing the same thing. Basically what it does is it goes into the save mode, and so it drops power, and you can only operate it like at a 30 mile an hour. And basically it's to save the engine. So, but they can't figure out why it keeps doing that. So it'll run fine, and then all of a sudden, you know, they come back out and it'll convert into the save mode. And you can't keep your RPMs up on it. You can't, you know, you can operate basically at idle.
Is that a new one? Is that a fairly new one then, Ryan?
No, that's one of the 2012s.
Oh, it is, okay.
It's the one that we're trying to get replaced this time. So we've got two 2012s. We already had a bid out to replace the one, and this one we were gonna use we were looking at doing a remount. So it'll take, you know, he said we can have it in November, so it would probably, was that 12 months, whereas the new one is 14 to 16 months from order. So, I mean, you're gonna save about 6 months' time probably by doing it this way. You know, if this works well, you know, we might try to do this every other time, and save the cost, and you get the box use out of two chassis instead of one. You know, that might be something that we look at doing and try to save some money.
So that this, you know, the way I figure it here, about 253,000, roughly speaking, you know, taking the 318 minus 65,000 off. So, I mean, that's not a firm number, you don't think, or is that a firm number?
Yeah, it's just a ballpark. I mean, you know, I would say probably if you want a firm number, I would say probably 260, 265 is probably the tops.
Okay. All right. Just curious. I mean, we got it budgeted, so I guess it doesn't really matter. So would we have just a show of hands tonight on approval of this? We can go ahead.
You can do a consensus to proceed.
So all in favor of having it to proceed with this, a new chassis and the whole box renovated. So it's unanimous. So, you know, I think that the attorney put a lot of work in this, you know, to look up how we can do it, and the commissioners approved it. So, you know, you can go ahead with it. So.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for calling in. Thank you for all you do there.
Yep, take care.
All right, bye. It's just the bottom corner here.
It's the red one.
Okay. All right. So any other things there? So we'll move on. Allison,
Hi.
you're next.
Sure. I've got a couple team members joining with my phone. Is that okay, or should I dial into there? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and connect here. And then I will introduce us all. Looks like we're a little early, so I'll go ahead and introduce us, and they'll hop on here in a minute. So my name's Allison Minke. I'm with Baird Private Wealth Management in Jasper. I'm here today to introduce you to our public finance team for Indiana. It's Landon Boehm, who's the managing director, and Josh Janik, who is the financial analyst. And they have spent a lot of the last couple of months really traveling the state or joining virtually in these meetings to tell you about tax rate strategy opportunity that's come about because of the increase in appraised values as it relates to property values. So we spoke at the last commissioner meeting, and it was suggested we come and really give you this information as well, so you have it available to you. So, oh, there's Landon. Hi.
Hi, Allison.
Okay, I've got you on my phone, but we are in the chambers here, and you're gonna look at the ceiling. I'm sorry. So that's Landon, sorry. This is some information that Josh put together specific to Du Bois County. just to give a little more context to the discussion today. And you're
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Landon, I think you can probably go ahead. They all have the handouts and I told them who you are and you can take it from there if you want.
Okay, great, thanks, Allison. Name and thing, here in public finance. We've got a generic slide deck here that walks through the concept. A lot of units are facing the same challenge this year, and it kind of took us by surprise. When assessed valuations started being published county by county back mid-August, we were kind of shocked to see some of the increases. I remember seeing Morgan County up 27%, as an example. And the challenge becomes, as your assessed value grows that rapidly, one, it tells you generally that your constituency is also growing. And it's generally and historically a good barometer of the needs of your constituents. But the year-to-year budget limitations don't necessarily allow you to keep pace with that level of growth. So the 2022 budget growth cap, the growth quotient cap this year was set late last year at 5%. I think we'll find out early or in a couple months what it will be set up for next year. And for context, the 2021 growth quotient was 4.6%, if I recall correctly. So everybody's had the ability to increase their overall levy by about 4 to 5% annually for the past few years. And that's allowed people to keep up reasonably with expense growth. This year was a little more unique in that respect, and I'm sure you've thumb through a number of your expense line items in your proposed budget and seen items and trends similar to what other counties are seeing with not only wage studies being done and growth in wages of 4 to 6%, but raw insurance costs are up 7+%. Costs have gone up dramatically this year. So one of the mindsets that we've had with our clients is walking through strategies to help keep pace better with the assessed value growth, and also maybe taking a play out of the traditional school funding approach, which is to really focus on tax rate as far as a funding strategy. And so that's the basis for the conversation today. What we did on slide number 1, which has 2 pie charts on it, is show the current year county overall tax rate of 36 cents, and then applying the assessed value growth for the county, but limiting the levy for next year by the 5% growth quotient. We're showing that you can add a 3-cent debt levy to help keep the county rate at 36 cents. Without that levy or without some other mechanism to increase your overall county rate or an appeal for growth, for example, with DLGF, your overall levy is set to fall to 33 cents. This is just our back of the napkin math. If you see it differently, we can modify the conversation and the calculations accordingly, but the concept is that to keep the county tax rate neutral from year to year, issuing a bond is one of the ways to accomplish that. A couple other things we worked with other counties are modification of bridge fund rates. I think for a fund like Major Bridge, for example, if you qualify, you could set it during budget season. Separately, CCD, if not at its max, could be set in the spring next year. And we've looked at a couple strategies to issue just a 1-year bond note to maintain the overall tax with the idea that a CCD increase will take its place next year. There's a couple other strategies to keep that rate the same. But debt is a primary tool. The other thing to note about that is that takes the first tax dollars within the Port of Latin jurisdiction before circuit breaker allocations. So depending upon what the unit mix is, it can be a favorable move in that regard. That you're getting the first catch of pre-circuit breaker tax dollars. Moving on to the second slide. This shows an example of what a simple 5-year financing would look like under that 3-cent levy for new debt. And it just shows that you can raise about $4 million, $4.13 million under current market rates. And that's one way to take a look at this. The next 2 slides are a similar method, looking at a 10-year and then a 20-year finance, just to show you the value of the 3-cent levy. So again, if borrowed across 10 years, it looks like you could raise about $7 million. And if borrowed across 20, or technically I think we're showing 19 years, it would be a borrowing capacity of about a little over 11 million. One of the things that we're working with the city on is a strategy to in the tight time frame that we have. I think most people are dealing with the same tight time frame. By the time assessed values got published, to the time that we were able to have conversations, much like tonight, about this concept, you really don't have a lot of time left in the budget season before you're required to get your budget settled and filed by November 1st. So one of the strategies we've discussed with the city is issuing a small year-end bond just to set the levy and subsequently leave room next year to be able to spend more time and make a broader commitment to a larger list of projects to provide a more long-term permanent bond in 2023. So that's an example of the strategies that we work through. And depending upon what the goals are, we've got the ability to kind of tailor the approach here to fit your needs. That's really the basics. The last point I'll make is, I think we've heard from a couple communities where, when we say debt and they said, well, look, how long are we borrowing for and what's the annual payment? The traditional discussion around debt is definitely appropriate, but I think after you get into the uniqueness of 2022 going into 23, not only with the assessed value growth that we've got on the books, but also the general trend in inflation right now, I think a lot of folks find comfort in the idea of using this not as an opportunity to indebt, but more as an opportunity just to maintain the overall resources for the county, so that you're better able to keep up and serve the citizens. That's just the final note that I'll make, just from a conceptual perspective. It's summarizing some of the conversations that we've had over the last 6 weeks with others. So with that, I'll take questions about, specifics about timing and what this looks like and whether it would be a fit for the county.
I guess the first question, when you said you start this, this year we're in, or 2023, with a small bond, is that what you're saying? And then when you say a small bond, what would that be? And then what kind of rate? I guess where would we put that money that we get the bond money, right? But we'd be paying someone interest on it? Am I wrong there, right? Or
You're spot on. So we're at Baird, our role as an investment bank is to sell the bond to the market. There's different markets for bonds. Shorter bonds we sell to different people than longer bonds, for example. Who ends up holding the bond can be a really unique mix. For Du Bois County and Jasper specifically, it's not uncommon that when we go to market, we'll have citizens that we manage money for that they'll pick up bonds. So you could end up with a number of different people holding bonds, including local individuals.
At the end of the day, what you see is a single payment though, that, you know, gets mailed or payment every 6 months with the interest rates. And as far as the shortness of the bond, that is a topic for statute limitations. So when we say short bond, what I think I really should say is a small bond. To get it done by the year end, we're really trying to focus people on what's called a non-controlled project borrowing, which is under the statute the lesser of 10% of your assessed value, or $5.8 million. It's technically $5,815,000. But if you embark on a bond below that amount, for the county, the lesser would be the $5.8 million. Then if you stay under that, it's a simple single ordinance read. You can suspend rules, pass it in one meeting, and no other proceedings required to debt. The limitation of that, though, is the size of the project that you can commit those funds to. So to borrow and assign funds to a project, you will have to certify as to what project you're looking to fund, and subsequently that project in totality does not exceed the $5.8 million. So when we say small or short bond, it's really in reference to anything below $5.8 million that we know we've got some projects that are kind of on deck, ready to be funded, that we can assign the bond to fund. And for a little more clarity around that, we can authorize the bonds for use in general, fulfilling general purposes of the county. That will be limited, of course, to capital improvements. To debt, you really have to focus on capital, not operational. And that's a federal regulation as well for getting a tax exempt rate. And so that, so I think that period of time, we can borrow now, and whether you spend the money or not immediately is less consequential. We've got 3 years to spend it under IRS guidelines. So a couple considerations, and I hope that makes a little more sense as far as what we mean by kind of a shorter or a smaller bond.
Okay, so you're saying you have to have a project though, right? You have to have a project to spend this bond money on?
You've got to have an idea that you've got projects coming up that you can fund. Because you're going to file with the federal government what's called an 8038 form, which just declares that you've borrowed under Treasury regs, that you're borrowing tax exempt, and part of that involves, again, certifying that you do have a project to spend the money on.
Okay.
And clarify though, what a project, that's pretty broad. I know on the list of things we had from the city, he had included the trail system that you all have been talking about. There was discussion about the sports facility that they would like to do, purchasing a fire truck. So they do need to be identified, but it is broad, a pretty broad definition. And Landon, am I correct in saying it could be current projects, like finishing out current projects? Or does it need to be new?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if they have something that they're already funding, like a phase 1 of something, could they fund phase 2 with the bond?
Absolutely, and there is an allowance to reimburse yourself for expenditures made within 60 days of closing of the bond if not documented. So another thing we can do, if you're underway with a project and you wanted to use that to be funded by this bond, so it was matched, we could, at the earliest meeting of the county, adopt what's called a reimbursement resolution, which just gives you the legal authority to, if you made expenditures for a project, to reimburse yourself from the bond proceeds. Otherwise, there's kind of a free 60-day look back under Treasury Code that would allow you to reimburse yourself. So you can reimburse for current expenditures of a current project. as well as for a phase two, look to bond fund a phase two that may have previously been appropriated for from other county funds that haven't been spent.
This is gonna sound totally so bizarre, but I guess I'm confused why we're having this discussion. Like, is there something that, like, did you guys ask to be on our agenda, or did we reach out to you guys to come on the agenda? Because there's not anything that I can think of that this would apply to at this time.
When we met with the commissioners, they suggested we get on the agenda, so I asked to be on the agenda. Yeah. They just thought, since we gave them this information, you also should have it.
Okay, because I mean, I guess from what I understand, I mean, the tax rate, yes, it will drop, but if the assessed values are higher, it shouldn't affect the revenue that we're bringing in. Our revenue should still go up, even though the tax rate might fall 3 cents.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to,
Well, my question is, what happens if we take on this debt and then the AV falls? We're
Right.
strapped to a debt and our taxpayers are paying more, and then they're gonna pay more, and then we're gonna hit a circuit breaker cap, and we're gonna lose even more revenue. Because who's saying our AV is gonna stay up? It's market trend. I mean, that's my questions.
You can answer though, that was kind of what I was thinking, what it look, we could get into a deflationary cycle here with housing, you can already see it in housing. So what happens, when what's the rush here to do this year, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, so I'll back up. So I think continuity is the prompt for this conversation.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I think it's continuity in tax rates. So,
Okay.
If you look back in as you go year to year, the last thing anybody wants to do is introduce a tax rate at any given time. And I'm not saying it's on the horizon for the county that you would come across the unfunded need that you all of a sudden needed to bond for out of nowhere, and you saw property taxes do it. I'm not saying that. This is just a strategy that we see others deploy just to maintain the same tax rate year to year, so there's no questions. That risk for a drop in assessed value is absolutely a risk out there. And I don't have enough technical knowledge or real estate knowledge to know what the likelihood of that would be. I think, we've gone back to 1978 or 82 a lot lately to study what a major inflationary period looks like. I wasn't even born then, so I don't have any real life experience around that, but the general conclusion was that real estate values were up through that period. So that's the closest I've come to analyzing that, but that would be a risk. And I hope that gives a little better explanation for our conversation. Yes, it's an opportunity for us to be involved with the county, but additionally, it's an opportunity in having this discussion to look at a strategy to just keep the tax rate stable, so that in a future year, you've already set the stage for new resources for the county without having to come back and amounts of tax increase in the future.
Well, I don't think in the past we've ever made sure our tax rate stayed the same. We wanted to, when AVs go up, you tell people, don't worry, tax rates are gonna come down and it'll be about the same rate you're paying.
That's true, but you've never implemented a strategy like this, which is
Right.
what spurred the conversation. It is more common with the school system and how they operate in trying to maintain a steady rate, because they always have projects, they always have things that need to be done, and you don't want it to go down and up and down and up and down and up. People could rely on a steady rate over time versus never knowing where it's gonna go, I guess is the point.
But I think it's the
That's
same.
idea.
What we've done is the same. Your AV goes up, your rate goes down, you still have the same line in the middle.
the revenue.
The revenue is the
revenue
same. The
stays.
levy is the same. That's what we go after, is the levies.
Right, I understand. I think one is, a year-to-year approach, while one is a long-term planning approach.
Yes, so this is a long-term planning perspective, but I think more importantly, it's prompted this year just by escalating costs. So I think a lot of people have come to us and said, hey, what are our strategies to broaden our levy when you're up against that 5% level? So I think that's where a lot of people fell back and said, hey, if I could raise my operating levies by more than 5%, would I? That might be the relevant question. And not knowing what your expected expenses for next year are, this is just another tool out there that if you did need to broaden your resource base, again, if you have higher inflated expenses, this is an option to do it. And conceptually, it's like, if you're paying for capital items under your annual budget right now, it's taking those and putting them over on their own levy is effectively what this would do.
Which is kind of what we do with Team Cat Fund and Team Bridge.
Operating levy a little more broadly for actual operational costs.
Thanks for the education.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Landon.
Thanks, Landon.
Yep.
Thanks, Josh.
Allison, thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Does the county around here have any?
No, it sounds like it does. I asked him the same thing, but no, he lives up by Indianapolis, and I think his family's actually from St. Louis. So yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
It's, I don't know, it was in there, Jasper adopted it the other day, but they got those, they mentioned those three in the paper and the news.
Jasper adopted it, they're going with it.
You don't have to worry about it.
That's right, well, we'll soon now.
Sorry.
We're back.
Yeah.
We're
We're gonna be better when they get in the fire center.
Anyway. So we just, I mean, it is, I'm glad they came to understand, because when I read it, and, when I looked at it in the paper, I couldn't understand, I talked about it this morning. I couldn't figure out how they were doing this or why they
I mean,
needed to do
it's
this.
to maintain if you maintain your rate and the AVs go up, you're gonna capture, 3 cents extra.
But your taxpayers are gonna pay that.
Right.
You're on the backs of the taxpayers.
Right, exactly. I don't.
We've had a lot of phone calls since the AV went up. Oh my God. And I kept telling them, calm down, the rate will come down
And it'll match.
and it'll, that's what you hope to do.
And I mean, they're the city of Jasper looking at some big projects, which are.
Right. If we were looking at a big project and wanted to fund it, like our jail, this would have been a thing to do, but we did it a different way.
Like I said, it's good to hear it, so you at least got a better idea what it is.
Well, they approached the commissioners and so.
Yeah, I was just a little confused, but I'm like, is there something going on that I don't know about? We need to find out.
Let's get through one project.
You don't like to hear bombs, do you?
No,
No.
Was that a curse word for her?
That was
becoming one.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Complicated affair.
Okay, let me get myself situated here. Project income. We have an additional appropriation for a payout of the previous director's pay and for the interim director. They named the assistant director interim for 1 week with an additional pay of $154.29. And then the difference was to pay out the previous director. So that's an additional because there's not enough money in that line item.
What was the amount? What was the amount?
$1,332.
So,
That's for both the payout and
okay.
the interim pay. And I did round it up a few pennies to make it an even number. $1,332.
Anybody have any questions on that? Was all for a motion to approve that?
Make a motion.
Charmaine made a motion, I have a second.
A second.
Becky seconded, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? So that's, Charmaine and Becky.
And then I will need a salary ordinance to pay the interim director pay $154.29.
154.29.
$154.29.
I move that we approve that salary ordinance for $154.29.
I'll second it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Sorry, I don't have all these written down.
John. You got this.
The other one, I kind of talked about this at the end of the day, at the end of the meeting last time. Project Income had to do a reimbursement due to a court order. They collected some money from people previous to 2016. And we were ordered to pay that back because it was past the statute of limitations, so I need an additional of $338. We are finding there may be a few more, so I may be back for another additional appropriation, but for right now, I just need $338.
Entertain a motion. I don't know, is there any discussion on that? I think we went through it last week or last week. So I'll make a motion that we approve the $338.
A second.
Becky seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Park and Recreation, the superintendent out there has gotten quite a bit of comp time again, and we are needing to pay him out, so I need an additional of $5,000 from Park and Recreation Personal Services.
Okay, does the director out there bring this up or?
We see it in the budget when he pays himself down.
Okay.
We see that he has enough comp time and we have to make another payment, because the handbook says when you're over 40, you have to pay it out.
Okay.
And so I contact the park president and I say, hey, look, you're running out of funds. And then she tells me, let's go for another additional appropriation.
Okay, this side, that's fine. So,
We try to monitor it to keep ahead of the deal.
I'll make that motion, Mike, that we pay that $5,000.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor, may I have a second?
Second.
Alex seconded, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
In the Cume Cap Fund, I am requesting $1,260 for a new printer in my office. The fuser is going bad at about $400 to $500, so I thought it'd be best just to go ahead and get a new one. I have a couple of quotes, so.
Anybody got any other questions on that? I couldn't hear them, I couldn't hear them. But, yeah, it's fine. I'm just kidding.
I move that we approve the $1,260 for the new printer.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor to approve it, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Sonia seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have to give you a rough time. I'm just kidding.
I don't even know what you're saying, so.
She's not listening to you either, that's right.
I just said, I couldn't hear your request, I said nothing.
Oh, was I too loud?
No, you had talked about it last meeting, right? That you were gonna seek these quotes, that's good.
The Highway Department. I forwarded you the email from Steve Burke today requesting replacement parts. He has replacement parts, including tires. He also has equipment. They have some signs that have they need to be replaced, tires and tube line item. He's got 3 different ones. He's got the general, he's got the general fund and the sanitation. He needs 2,000 in that supplies. And then he's got the highway department. He needs equipment repairs of 25,000 and tires for 10,000 in highway. So I'll do the general fund sanitation first for 2,000.
So $2,000 for time for the sanitation. I'll make that motion, we approve that 2,000.
A second.
The first and the second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And then the highway, we have it on one, 25,000 for other services under equipment repairs and 10,000 under supplies, tires.
Would those be separate,
They're together.
together,
So it's 35.
35,000? Okay, so let me entertain a motion for 35,000 for the highway department.
I'll make the motion.
So Craig, and then Bruce.
I'll make
Doug.
that.
Doug seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I have, under the general fund, the HR department needs $750 for drug screens.
Any discussion on that?
So just that many more hires or? Okay,
Every new hire goes through them, so
and so from what I understand, they're going out to the health department for them now,
yes, but we are paying the health department the lab fee, so
but it is lower than what
But it is-
was.
it is a little bit cheaper than it was.
So I'll make a motion for the $750 for the HR drug screens.
I'll second.
Made seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
That's. I do have one transfer that came in today. The prosecuting attorney, it's $5,000 transferred from legal supplies to miscellaneous. He said they've got a lot more costs for depositions right now, so that's what that'll pay for.
So is it it's only 5,000 total then, right?
We're taking 5,000 from supplies and moving it into miscellaneous.
Okay. Any questions on that or concerns? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that $5,000.
I'll make the motion.
Doug made a motion, may I have a second? Alex seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
It's interesting that that line item is just miscellaneous. Doesn't have a name, you know?
Yeah,
We do have some that are just called miscellaneous or operating.
Okay.
Sometimes they're just, it's an operating line, but it's just for more general purpose. I think that's. For the budget, where's my budget paper? We made a few changes to the budget book. On page 11, the probationary deputy for the SRO, the Southeast School District will not be pursuing that grant. So we will take that item out, so it'll be 0. Then on page 13, we're gonna change the repairs and maintenance for 911 that you talked about with Stuart earlier and add 9,000 to that. So the line item was 89.5, we're gonna change it to 98.5.
Okay, when you said it, I think it,
Page 13.
Page 13,
Yes. Line repair and maintenance service agreement.
there it is.
Page 95, 98.
Okay, and then I put it on page 11.
Bruce said this, so
And page 11, we're gonna take the SRO out and make it 0.
Probation.
It says probation or deputy new,
no,
On the bottom.
it's gonna be 0.
I got it.
The commissioners did approve changing the new director out of community corrections to a 40-hour position starting next year. And they also approved the assistant director moving to PAT 5. So I guess the numbers in there are already reflecting that, correct? The only other thing we kind of kicked around in the office and I talked with Wyatt about was they do not have a comp time line item to pay anybody out of community corrections. So we will be working on that. I don't know if we need to add something to the budget or if we need to, I don't know. They have several people over 40 hours. They have some people in 100 hours. And we need to get that either taken care of or wiped out.
Especially now, we can't keep, more they keep making more money, that's,
I'm assuming is it the corrections officers that are that high?
I don't know which exact, it seems like the case managers are more than anybody. But we've talked to Wyatt, we need to get that either paid down this year or taken care of, because next year they're gonna make more, and it'll cost us more. So we're working on that, hopefully we'll have
Because they
something.
threw this overtime during this last year, or has it been going on for?
yeah, the count time, is that more than this year?
I can't answer that. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Oh,
I don't know that.
Okay.
It's been something like Wyatt and I spoke about it today, and we're gonna work on trying to get that either paid down using maybe CTP funds or something. But in the future, we may need to think about having some kind of line item in there that when they get over 40, they're paid out.
isn't that something probably the advisory board should know about and what that complete, or am I wrong?
It's something I made him aware of now, so
Okay, good.
we're gonna be working on it. Right now, our proposed budget is $32,301,397 plus 9,000. We just added, so 310,000. We just added the 9,000.
310
So that's 32,310,397. So that's what we'll be advertising.
32 million.
310, 397.
It's a big budget.
You know, when we asked, can you get your work done in 35 hours a week? You know, we need, that's not like, Sean got mad at, well, that's all you let us work. And I'm like, we need to know this, if there's that much people are working over and getting comp time, that's something's wrong.
Like I said, I'll know more once we do a little work into it. It's just with me doing budgets and him trying to move a building into another, they got a lot going on, I got a lot going on. We're gonna try to sit down after they move it.
They don't want to be put in for 40 hours.
Well, Wyatt will be working 40, but he doesn't get comp time. Well, you gotta wonder how you accrue that. That's a management.
25 million. That's what I read it. It's they got a pretty big budget too. I don't know, is there? So is that all you had, Sandy? or-
That's all I have.
Again, I'll just, the jail, we had a meeting again this morning on this move, community corrections, and I think they got everything lined up for the start, maybe on the 10th. Maybe move the body scanner and stuff Friday before that. So it seems like they've been meeting every week to try to get that coordinated, move into the jail pod. So it's going well. Wyatt, he's involved with it, and so a lot of people involved with it, but so it's going well. We did, Chad and I did sit down with one of the, particularly Ben, Houston, I think the name is from that solar farm. He said they may push that out somewhat, because I think the people they're gonna sell this, or the company they're gonna sell this power to has to do upgrades, and so they may push their project out a few months, and we talked about maybe 10 to 12 months. So it gives us more time to get acquainted with them. But they reported they were doing stuff at the Hertz Fest, they had a booth up over there to try to educate people, which I think is good, So I mean, the only thing, again, that came up, Becky and Sonia, I think you guys are on this, committee to abatement. I don't know if we want to start maybe looking at that a little bit, if there's, Chad just said something, we just talked about it, is, that should we make sure that's up to date, this kind of thing, because a lot of, stuff you go to with even this health, the training that you have for the health grant, they're saying it's not, industry, you used to try to draw industry to your area or to your place. Now, you try to have a quality in place, draw people, and then the industry and business will follow. So it's a little different than, try to get more jobs. Because even though that's not the case, we can't find employees. So, will that turn again? I didn't know if you guys have any input on that at some point, or we could sit down and discuss it a little bit. Couple of us, just to see if we are up to date. I don't know.
Some of that has to be checked with what the state requires. They were still requiring something for the number of jobs.
Okay.
Well, we had talked about something, I know I chatted with Nick one time too, was go through the score sheet and you score it. Right, the council can always override what we have to say, the score sheet said this. So I think but there's something about the state is behind on some of their stuff of what they require. And looking at this community development stuff where the number of jobs will be less, but the income will be more. So both of those are on our score sheet. And that's where if we see something, then the council can.
If you have, everybody's busy, but maybe if you can take a look at that or just think about it. That's Chad and I just spoke about it. He asked me if I could look at that because it's really a council decision.
Well, we don't know anything until they fill it out.
I know, I think the overall format, I think is what we're talking about, not the specific. Because we know they're not gonna provide three jobs, I think is what they told us at the most. And if they, it's just a site supervisor or, so it's just a thought. I don't know when we, if we wanna wait to the,
I had a farmer that called me talking about jobs that will be lost because of this. Farming jobs, so that's something that we can think about as well. So
Right.
that was a button for him that he wanted to just talk about.
Is he considering going in with them and then saying, well,
No, but
people would lose their jobs because of.
no, he said he's for the for the whole project, but he thinks we need to make sure we understand not the initial jobs, but it's the jobs that will be lost. So he thought that was important for us, but
It's a good point. It's a good point. You're not processing that grain, you're not bringing it to the market, and you're not transporting it, and you're not.
So Superior Ag or anybody else isn't putting fertilizer down, so there's a trickle down effect.
I just want to bring it up tonight just to think about it. I don't know on that one. If we can, so that's basically all I had. I think those two items, is the assessor part of that committee?
Yes. Someone from Sandy's office.
Like I was telling Mike earlier, I have 2 new people, so.
Is that set up by the state too, who has to be on that? Do you know?
I think it's outlined somewhere that, or I don't know if it was a recommendation or if it was.
I don't know, I wasn't part of it.
It's on also.
So it must be structured somehow. And we could go into next year with.
Because we had said, if we're looking at very few jobs, we're like, they're expecting a bigger tax abatement than what the score sheet's gonna show. Unless their incomes are so high that it, it sort of balances it out.
Well,
But,
Because you get points for jobs, points for income, right?
they probably wouldn't meet those requirements.
it would be very low, I would think.
I'm just, they're trying to, again, they're gonna come back to the council and commissioners, to keep us informed of it, but, they're gonna,
They took the
Definitely push.
application.
did they?
For
They're
sure,
definitely gonna
one of
push.
the gals had said
I
that
thought
they
we
picked
sent
one
them
up
one when they requested it back.
a few months ago.
But they're trying to sell that economic development, they're trying to put something back into the county that way. So, but I told him, so they talked about maybe coming back in first of the year.
Because that's something, we have other businesses coming in, and they're scored this way.
Yeah.
That's gotta be up to the council then, we on the committee, this is your score sheet, this is what we have. So to revise it for one company and whatever,
Right.
that's,
Well, I agree with you there.
Because we did revise it as a.
we did just.
It was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, something.
So we added something, so businesses could get more points.
Because of technology, also.
Technology and
It's for machinery.
Your employees, whether you offer continuing education, and,
But I just wanted to bring it up, just so
Yep.
we all understand it around it.
Can we talk about briefly the Jasper Citizen again? The whole, the 38,568, like I said, I don't have a problem with that, but I think the engineering costs. So when they go to other, I don't know where else there's other holes, or do they have to have engineering to decide what, they're gonna fill it? Do they have to have engineering for that? Is there a cost?
But you wouldn't, this is kind of my opinion would be this is pretty involved, I was out here this afternoon or this morning, looked at it, the bridge deck and all that, it's a little more involved, because someone's got to design the steel, I guess I should say, in a method of doing it, whereas, you kind of indicated with I think someone else told me that what they'll do is just take, it would have been just like us, if we would have had those 2 openings, which I've got pictures of. We would have just blocked them shut, filled it with sand, and then they would have taken out that structure, bridge deck, that stuff. So they probably won't get an engineer involved, and you just lay block in there, a concrete block in the opening.
Okay.
If it's a cold shoe.
they thought they were old cold shoots.
Yeah. So I know.
Which it probably was.
All it sounds extreme with their charges, or indicating, I shouldn't say the charges.
They'll send you like an invoice of what they said, the engineer, right?
Well, she acted like she'd send an amount.
Right, but I think I'd like to see like
And itemized.
itemized engineering bill from the place. Cause
They didn't mention the engineering and design in the
Well,
commissioner meeting
I
that I heard.
I listened to it, I didn't hear that either, it took me by surprise enough.
Because I think Brent was pretty positive 38 to 40,000 would be the cost.
And we have,
I can call Sanjay anymore.
and we can, we haven't approved that yet.
No, that's.
Well, and I think had they done a different quadrant and we went, oh, we have one of those, we could have dealt with our issue. They just happened to find ours first.
I didn't know if the other building owners, if they run into them, do they pay anything to fill it up or?
Nick asked that question and they said,
sounds like they found.
Part of the project is what Chad said.
Sounds-
So it sounds like, no,
Yeah.
they're gonna cover that cost.
Yeah.
Is my interpretation of
Yes.
Well, but I mean, the way that they described it is that they are aware of more of them, and the building owners are gonna block it off and they're just gonna fill them in.
I think there's a stairway on one of them over here under just Whimsy. They're gonna block it and just fill it in. And I don't know if there's one over here on the Sternberg building or not. One said yes and one said no, so I didn't hear that. And they said Siebert's had one on the back when they dealt with the back, so that's already been dealt with, that they're not even touching the back anymore.
Just trying to prepare for our next meeting then.
Well, I thought it would have been fair, do it anyway, we would have to vote on it again, I guess. So let's see what allows to it. Do you want to say something to the, you want me to call Chad and ask him if we're gonna need an itemized breakdown of it, the engineering costs, or I mean, I can do it or you can do it.
I can let Renee know that's what you're wanting.
Yeah, I think we ought to have engineer breakdown, just a lump sum.
Yeah, I think
Well, we can give that to Brent, yeah, let Brent look at it.
Just don't make sure like we're on top and up on everything.
So,
For the engineering and design.
Next meeting's October or something, right, for the budget.
We will be meeting on October 12th at 6 PM for the public hearing of the 5 different budgets you guys approved.
6 o'clock, right?
6 o'clock. Shouldn't take more than 15, 20 minutes, but we will read the amounts and have the first reading of the budget, and then we'll adopt it on October 24th.
anyone down here?
I may not be in town now.
Okay. Alex, do you have anything or you wanna have?
I need 4 of you.
So. Okay. Everybody okay? We'll accept the motion to close the meeting.
Move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Opposed.
We're totally official now, thank you, President Cleese.